Hello students, in the last video of this chapter, we learned about urine formation, how urine was formed using three steps: filtration, reabsorption and secretion. Now let us understand how this filtrate is concentrated. So the flow of the filtrate in two limbs of Henle's loop and the flow of the blood through the two limbs of vasa recta are in the opposite direction, right? So these Henle's loop and vasa recta help to concentrate the urine. So because this is in opposite direction, we call this as counter current pattern. So this is called the counter current mechanism. Now due to this counter current mechanism, the proximity between Henle's loop and vasa recta, osmolarity increases from the cortex to the inner medullary intestine. The gradient is caused by sodium chloride and urea. Similarly, small amounts of urea enter this thin segment of the ascending limb of the Henle's loop, which is transported back to the interstitium by the collecting tubule. So in this way, it concentrates the urine. So this causes the electrolytes and the urea to be retained in the interstitium, and concentration gradient will be maintained in the medullary interstitium. So this enables easy passage of water from the collecting tubule to the concentrate of the filtrate. That is, urine will be concentrated after this step. The DCT, that is the distal convoluted tubule, and collecting duct produce urine 4 times concentrated than the initial filtrate form. Okay, so the urine is concentrated, which is very important to maintain the osmolarity of the body. Now let us understand the next process, that is micturition, which is the release of urine. So this takes place in the following steps. First, the urine will be formed in the kidney, and after that the bladder will fill with the urine. So because the urine is present in the bladder now, this will stretch the bladder. It will stretch the receptor on its wall and send impulses to our CNS, that is the central nervous system. CNS passes on the motor messages. So sensory neurons will take the message and motor neurons will get the messages back. Because of these messages, there will be contraction of smooth muscles of the bladder and simultaneous relaxation of the urethral sphincter, which will cause the release of urine from the body. So this is called micturition, where urine is released from the body. This neural mechanism is a reflex action. So this is also called as micturition reflex. Okay. In an adult human, the excretion of urine is about 1 to 1.5 liters per day. It is light yellow colored watery fluid which is slightly acidic and has a characteristic odor. If there is any change in this color or pH, then we understand that there is something wrong with the body. So we can do various tests to find out that what is wrong with the body. Urine analysis will help us for clinical diagnosis of metabolic disorders and malfunctioning of kidneys. For example, if urea is present in the kidney, then it is called glycosuria. If ketone bodies are present in the kidney, then we will have ketone urea. So this will indicate that a person is maybe suffering from diabetes mellitus. Similarly, we can do Benedict's test for glucose to check the presence of glucose in the urine. So we take the urine sample, we add Benedict solution to it, and then we heat it. If the sample gives us blue color, that means no glucose is present. If the color changes to green, then there is traces of glucose present. If it is orange, then there is moderate amount of glucose present. And if it is brick red, then there is a large amount of glucose present. That means there is some problem with the body. Generally, cold drinks will give you this brick red color for Benedict's test. So obviously there's large amount of glucose present in urine, which is not good for metabolism or for the body of that person. Till now, we have learned about urine formation and how does kidney help us in urine formation. But we also need to understand that other organs like lungs, liver, skin are also excretory organs and they also play an important role. Lungs remove carbon dioxide and water. The liver secretes bile containing bilirubin, biliverdin, cholesterol, degraded steroid hormones, vitamins, and drugs. Most of them pass out along with digestive waste. Skin contains water, sodium chloride, small amounts of urea, lactic acid, etc. The primary function of sweat is to give a cooling effect on the body surface. Sebaceous glands eliminate sterols, hydrocarbons, and waxes through sebum. Sebum provides a protective oily covering for the skin. The saliva eliminates small amount of nitrogenous waste also. Now let us understand how the function of kidney is regulated by our brain. So this is done by hormonal feedback mechanisms involving hypothalamus, heart, which changes the volume of blood, body fluid volume and ionic concentration, activate the osmoreceptors in the body to regulate the amount of urine which is going out from the kidney. First, let us study the regulation by a hormone called ADH, that is the antidiuretic hormone. So when body fluid level decreases, the osmoreceptors stimulate the hypothalamus to release this antidiuretic hormone. It is also called as vasopressin. So it stimulates water reabsorption from DCT and collecting duct. Thus, ADH will prevent the diuresis and increases the body fluid volume. So this is how the feedback goes on. This helps us to maintain proper fluid in our body. So if you are drinking more water, then ADH will let the water go. But if you are drinking less water, then it will try to retain the water which is there in your body. Increase in fluid volume switches off the osmoreceptors and suppress the ADH, and this causes the ADH release to complete the feedback. So ADH is released now, so this will constrict the blood vessels. This will result in an increased blood pressure, and this increases the glomerular blood flow and the glomerular flowing rate. Now let us understand the regulation by another hormone, by another region, that is the juxtaglomerular apparatus, also GGA. This is formed by cellular modification of DCT, distal convoluted tubule, and the afferent arteriole at the location of their contact. So this juxtaglomerular apparatus regulates the flow rate by renin-angiotensin mechanism. How does it regulate? See, whenever there is a fall in the glomerular blood flow, the glomerular blood pressure will be regulated. So this will activate the GFR and the juxtaglomerular cells to release renin. So this renin will now convert angiotensinogen in blood to angiotensin 1 and further to angiotensin 2, which is a vasoconstrictor. So it will cause vasoconstriction. This angiotensin 2 increases the glomerular blood pressure and it increases the flow rate also. So this activates the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone. Now this disorders of the excretory system. So one of the disorders is uremia. Uremia is when urea accumulates in the blood due to some malfunction of the kidney. So this leads to kidney failure. So when urea is not properly removed, the person has uremia. Then we have the renal calculi. Here an insoluble mass or stone is formed of crystallized salts, oxalates, within the kidney. So this can be very painful and eventually the person will have to remove these stones from the body. Then we have glomerulonephritis. You can see here, this shows a healthy kidney and this shows a kidney which is suffering from glomerulonephritis. So this is basically when there is inflammation and swelling on the glomeruli. So this also causes problems during urine formation. So people who suffer from these diseases uh, generally have to undergo hemodialysis. Here, urea is removed from the patients with uremia. The dialysing unit or the artificial kidney contains a coiled cellophane tube which is surrounded by the dialysing fluid, and it has the same composition in plasma except the nitrogenous waste. So because of this, the nitrogenous waste are absent in the dialysis fluid, so they will immediately come out from the person's blood. So the blood drained from a convenient artery is pumped into the dialysing unit, and adding an anticoagulant like heparin helps. Heparin is necessary, otherwise the blood will get clogged and the flow of the blood will not occur. The porous cellophane membrane of the tube allows the passage of molecules based on the concentration gradient. So they will go from higher concentration to lower concentration. As nitrogenous waste are absent in the dialysing fluid, these substances freely move out, as I told you earlier, so they will be clear from the blood. The cleared blood will now be pumped back in the body through a vein by adding antiheparin to it. So in people who where kidney is damaged, they can go for this hemodialysis method, but obviously the person has to sit with the dialyzer for a long time, and this can be painful for people. The next option is to have a kidney transplant. This is the ultimate method for correction of acute renal failures, where a functioning kidney is taken from a donor and it is given to a recipient. It is better to receive the kidney from a close relative, because if the kidney is not matching, then our body will think that something foreign has entered our body and it will try to kill it. So, to avoid this rejection, people generally have to match the kidney before taking it from any donor. And if the donor is a close relative, then there are less chances of the body rejecting this kidney. I hope you all understood this chapter nicely. Thank you.